Namaste students. So again we are continuing with the chapter that is surface chemistry. So in your last classes you have learned regarding the concept of colloid, and there you have learned regarding the classification of colloid based on the phases, in the sense based on the state which it will appear, as well as based on the particles, in the sense dispersed phase and dispersion medium. So based on that, lipophilic and liophobic, in the sense liquid loving and liquid hating. So based on that the classification we have done, and as well as based on the nature of your colloidal particles. So that is like macromolecules, multimolecules, as well as associated molecules. As the name indicates, the concept also it will go in that manner. And associated particles, there you have learned regarding the concept of soap, the mechanism of soap, as well as cleansing property of soap you have learned. And later on we have discussed regarding the purification method, okay, the properties of colloids as well as purification method. So that we have discussed. Purification method may goes with the dialysis, electrodialysis, as well as ultrafiltration. So the next concept that we will be learning is properties of colloidal solution. So this, under this concept, it can be asked for 2 marks to write any of the properties of colloids, as well as this concept with important what is meant by Tyndall effect, that also that can be asked. So now we will go with the properties of colloid. So the first property that we are discussing, that is colligative property. Now what is meant by colligative property? Regarding colligative property, you will be learning properly in your next chapter, that is solution. So this is a property of a solution, okay, where you can explain osmotic pressure as well as vapor pressure, boiling point as well as freezing point. So in these 4 concepts you will be explaining better in terms of solution, okay. So we will be studying all those concepts under chapter solution. So here I just explain. Here we are just comparing, what is the difference between true solution as well as your colloids. So we are just comparing, and we are just saying what is happening in colligative property according to the concept, in the sense according to colloids, okay. So now here, as I said, colligative properties are nothing but the properties of a solution, okay. So which goes with osmotic pressure, okay, as well as a relative lowering of vapor pressure, as well as elevation in boiling point and depression in freezing point. So freezing point, boiling point, osmotic pressure, as well as vapor pressure. So these 4 physical concepts you will be learning under solution, okay. What will happen regarding solution? So the same thing if you compare here, what will happen? What will happen regarding the colligative properties of your true solution as well as your colloids? So here what will happen? Generally you will be having, in the sense colloids are nothing but number of particles will be there. So that number of particles are having smaller size when you compare with the true solution. But what will happen when you say colloid, those kind of particles, it will aggregate one another, okay, based on the classification. Like it can form macromolecule, it can form multimolecule, or it can form associated molecules also, okay. So due to that reason, your colligative property of your colloids will be smaller than your true solution, okay. The colligative property of your colloids are having smaller value when you compare with the true solution. The reason is, as I said, you are comparing true solution and colloids. So colloids, when you see the size of the particle, now generally when you say the size ranges between 1 nanometer to 1000 nanometer. That is when these particles, the number of particles, when it will aggregate. Otherwise the particle size is very small over here, okay. So that will aggregate one another and to form a colloid. So when you see the size, based on the size we are saying your colloidal particle are having smaller colligative value when you compare with true solution. That is our name of the first property, colligative property. The next property, Tyndall effect. Regarding Tyndall effect, you have studied in your 9th standard. So what is mean by Tyndall effect? For example, you take a beaker, okay. So in this beaker, you take a colloidal solution. Your arsenic trisulfide you can take, okay, iron hydroxide you can take, any of the colloidal solution you take, okay. Pass light from this, okay. So what will happen? You can see when you pass the light, you can observe the particles over here, you can observe. So when you pass light like this, okay, so so you can observe the particles. So how it is possible, or what you are going to call that concept? So that concept will be considered as Tyndall effect. Okay, so that is nothing but the scattering of light here where in the colloidal particles, okay, due to the presence of colloidal particles, so that particles are visible. Okay, you can see the particles are visible over here, so that will be considered as Tyndall effect. So this was explained, first it was noticed by Faraday, later it was explained by a scientist known as Tyndall, so he has given his name. So this effect will be considered as Tyndall effect. So what this effect means, here it says that the particles, in the sense it is a phenomenon of scattering of light. So the definition can be asked over here. So when the definition will be asked, you are supposed to write phenomenon of scattering of light, by dispersed phase, in the sense dispersed particles in a colloidal solution, so that the particles are visible, okay, visible in nature. So that will be considered as Tyndall effect. Okay, so this concept will be known as Tyndall effect. So what will happen when you pass light? You can observe light in this manner. Okay, you can observe the light in this manner, in the sense cone shape. Okay, so this will be considered as Tyndall cone, in the sense Tyndall cone or Tyndall beam. In the sense, your light, when you pass a light through colloidal solution, these particles or the light are scattered by the particles which is present in the colloidal solution. So these lights are illuminated. So we are going to call it as Tyndall cone. You might have observed in movie theater and all. Okay, the light, that whatever the light, it comes from a small hole. Okay, but you can see in terms of picture. So you can see the light particles. It comes like this. Okay, so that is just one example of Tyndall effect. Or else your sky or sea, it looks blue. Why? Because of the same reason. It goes with the Tyndall effect. There, due to the scattering of light, okay, due to the presence of the particle, what this particle will do? It scatters the light. Due to that reason, we can observe that different color. So we can observe the Tyndall cone where Tyndall effect is seen. So it is having some condition. So the diameters of dispersed phase is not much smaller than, should not be smaller than wavelength of light. Either it should be equal to the wavelength of light, or it should be greater than that. Okay, but it should not be smaller than that. If it is smaller, you can not observe this effect. Tyndall effect cannot be observed. Next one, reflective indices of your dispersed phase as well as medium, in the sense your solute as well as solvent, it should differ greatly. They should have much difference when it goes with its magnitude. Okay, regarding refractive indices, when you go with solute and solvent, you know what is meant by dispersed phase as well as dispersion medium. So when you go with the refractive indices of these two phases, it should differ greatly. Okay, it should have much difference with the magnitude. So these are the conditions. And here, when the scattering of light will be seen, in the sense when the particle will distribute the light, by that time those light will appear, those particles will appear shiny in nature. So one of the scientists, he wanted to observe whether by using of ultra microscope, whether it is possible to find the size as well as shape of the particle. Okay, so what he has done, he has taken a colloidal solution in a beaker. Okay, and he has passed a light through lens. Okay, he has passed the light, and from here, okay, by using of ultra microscope from upper side, okay, he has observed. So he could see only the light, the particles which are shiny in nature, but he couldn't see the size of the particle. He couldn't observe the shape of the particle. So then he concluded, by using of ultra microscope, we cannot find the size as well as shape of the colloidal particle. So as I said, this effect, when it will happen, by that time the particles are shiny in nature. Okay, it it is shiny in nature. So this is regarding Tyndall effect. So this is a bit important. We can ask what is mean by Tyndall effect as well as what is mean by Tyndall cone. Tyndall cone is nothing but when the light is passed through a colloidal solution, we can observe the illuminated cone. Okay, so that will be considered as Tyndall cone, or it can be called as Tyndall beam. So this is regarding Tyndall effect. The next property, that is regarding color. Whether it is possible or whether the colloidal solutions are also having color or not. Okay, so that will be seen over here. See, here mainly the color of the particle mainly depends on wavelength of light. Depends on wavelength of light. Okay, so mainly depends on wavelength of the light. So based on this, in the sense what kind of light you are using, based on that the light can be observed. So here it mainly depends on the size as well as nature of the particle as well as the person. Okay, in which form we can observe the light, based on that also the color. Like for example, now mixture of milk and water. If you go with a mixture of milk and water, generally it appears white, right? But if you go with the color, okay, if you go based on the wavelength, if sometimes it appears blue based on reflective index, okay, as well as it can appear red when you pass transmitted light. So based on this it goes, okay, based on the based on the wavelength we have certain waves, right? Okay, so based on that light wave this color will appear. One more example, if I say the gold solid, we consider gold solid, the size of the particle when it is very small, it appears red in color. Okay, when the size of the particle is very small, it appears red in color. Colloidal in the sense it will aggregate, the particles will aggregate one another. So when the aggregation will takes place, in the sense as the size will grow, by that time the changes in colors can be observed, okay, based on the wavelength of the light. So gold salt, as I said, it appears red when the size is very small. As it bit increases, it appears blue, and when it increases still more, it appears gold. Okay, so the based on the wavelength as well as size and nature of the particle and the observer, okay, on which form he observed the light, okay, based on that also it goes. The color of the particle we are going to say. Okay, so the next property we will be seeing as Brownian concept or Brownian moment. So the next property that will continue, that is nothing but Brownian moment. So what is mean by Brownian moment? Brownian moment in the sense, in your colloidal solution if you consider, the particles will be there, whether the particles will settle down or it will move continuously. So that property we will be learning over here. So Brownian moment is nothing but this colloidal particle, it will not stay in a single place for a longer time. Okay, it will move, continuous movement of the particle will be there. So how it moves? It moves with a zigzag. Consider, now here one particle is there. For a certain moment it will be here in this place, and after some time it moves like this. Again it moves like this here. Again it moves like this in this way. So zigzag movement can be seen in the colloidal particles. So that will be considered as Brownian movement, or the randomness of the particle. How it moves randomly in terms of zigzag manner it moves. So that will be considered as Brownian movement. Now here, how the Brownian movement will be possible, or how the particles can move, on what basis it moves. These particles, see, you have learned colloidal solutions or salts are nothing but it will be having solute as well as solvent, right? So what will happen, the collision will take place between solute particle as well as whatever solvent you have taken. So between these, collision will take place so that it will, once it collides to one particle in the sense, again it moves to another side. Okay, so in this way the movement of the particle can be seen in zigzag manner because of the collision of the solute as well as solvent. So that will be considered as Brownian movement. And mainly here Brownian movement or the particles movement, it does not depend on the nature of the particle. Mainly it goes with the size of the particle as well as the viscosity of that particle. And here continuous movement of particle will be there. So that is nothing but stirring effect will be there. So when any solution you have taken once, when you stir, how the particle movement will be there. In the same way here also particles will move continuously, so that you can see the particles will never settle in colloidal soil. If it settles, then we are going to call it as precipitate, not a colloidal soil. Okay, so due to that reason, in the sense continuous movement of the particle will be there. How? In stirring effect, how it will be there? In the same way you can observe the particle movement over here also. Okay, so that it will not allow the particles to settle down. So when it moves continuously, so then we are going to call it as kinetic energy. It will be having some energy where the movement of particles will be there. So the movement of particles will be seen over here. So that will be seen, okay, based on the energy. So that will be considered as kinetic energy. The movement of the particle where some releasing of energy will be seen. So that will be considered as kinetic energy. And obviously this is a colloidal soil, so that you can observe Tyndall effect. Because of particles movement, when the particles will move continuously, so that when you pass light, by that it scatters the light. Okay, so due to that reason you can observe the Tyndall effect under colloidal soil. So this is one property, Brownian movement. Important. What is meant by Brownian movement? That can be asked. Very easy concept. Brownian movement is nothing but the zigzag movement of the particle or randomness of the particle due to the collision of solute as well as solvent. So this if you explain, you will get marks. Okay. So regarding Brownian movement. The next one is electrical property. Now what is meant by electrical property? So in last class while explaining some concept I have told colloids or collision in the sense, when you go with colloidal soil, it will be having some of the charges. Okay, either it will be having positive charge or negative charge. In the sense, if you will consider, now here colloidal soil is there in the sense, whole solution it will be having same kind of soil. Okay, same kind of charge. If one particle is having negative charge in the sense, other particles also can show negative charge. So all the particles will show same kind of charge. On what basis we can say these particles are having this kind of charge? So that will be saying under this concept. So that is nothing but electrical property, because colloidal particles it will be having electrical charges as negative as well as positive. So any one of the charges will be there in that whole colloidal solution. So generally if I say examples, negative salts can be seen in this form. Metallic salt, in the sense metal when it forms salt, as well as metallic sulfides, your arsenic sulfide, lead sulfide, all those things. Okay. So when those metal sulfide salts, when it will be there, those salts can show negative charge. Okay, negative electrical charge, as well as your metal hydroxide or metal oxide form, iron, lead and all, when it is there with oxide form as well as hydroxide form. When it is there with a colloidal salt form, by that it shows positive charge. Okay, so remember your colloidal solution, it shows either positive charge or negative charge. It will be like uniformly distributed throughout the solution. Now we will go with some of the example where you can understand regarding this electrical property, or how on what basis we can say the whole colloidal salt is positive or negative. So I just consider, now I takes two solutions. Okay, the mixture of AgNO3 silver nitrate as well as mixture hydrogen mixture of potassium hydroxide. Okay, so one will be dispersed phase and another will be considered as dispersion medium. So here electrical property mainly it goes how the colloidal salt is formed. Okay, when the salt is formed, that salt will absorb, not absorb, not be, D it is. Okay, D for dog. So adsorption will take place over here. Adsorption is nothing but only on the surface. Okay, the adsorption will take place over here. So what kind of adsorption will take place? The ions, electrolyte, whatever you will be adding, okay, or so the medium whatever you will be adding. So from that medium, ions will be absorbed. What kind of ions will be absorbed? That will be having one positive, ion as well as negative ion. So mainly it goes with a common ion. Example when I will explain, by then it will be clear. For example, now I will mix silver nitrate with iodide. So what you will get as a product? You will get AgI as well as KNO3 you will get as a product. So you know already, right? So now this is nothing but your salt. Okay, colloidal salt. AgI, silver iodide is a colloidal salt. Now if we consider, this will be added to potassium iodide. So this is your dispersed phase and this is your dispersion medium. Okay. To check with the electrical property, we need dispersion medium. This is very important. We require dispersion medium. So based on the dispersion medium, we can say the salt is positive or negative. Now as I said, what will happen here? Salt, that is AgI is formed. Okay, AgI is a salt. Okay, colloidal particle. Now what it will do? Either it will absorb this ion. From here dispersion medium, either it will absorb K plus ion or minus ion. So how we will get to know which ion it will absorb? As I said, absorption will take place from the salt. Okay. Here if we compare, it will take place only from a medium. Okay, from a dispersion medium. Now how we will get to know whether this particle, this colloidal particle will absorb positive ion or negative ion to get certain charge. So that can be understood by using of the common. So now if we consider AgI as well as Ki, what is common here? Iodine is common. Okay. So we can say this silver iodide can absorb I minus. Okay. It can absorb I minus. What is the charge of I minus? That is negatively charged. So that we can say this salt is negative. Okay, so when you will mix AgNO3 to potassium iodide, by that whatever salt you will get, so you can say based on this is negative salt. Okay, so the negative salt we have got. One more example I will tell. I use the same example where I will take Ki as a dispersion phase as well as a medium. Okay, so by then how it goes? For example, now Ki is added to AgNO3. Salt is same. You will get AgI as well as KNO3. So this is your salt, right? So now this is dispersed phase and this is nothing but dispersion medium. So what is important for us to check this charge? We need dispersion medium. So take the salt, that is particle, your colloidal particle. Now in this dispersion medium you have Ag plus NO3 minus, right? Two ions are present. So which ion it will absorb? Whether it absorbs Ag plus or NO3. Which is common over here? Here the common ion is Ag plus. This also having Ag, this also having Ag. So it absorbs Ag. So in this kind of solution we can say this is positive salt. I guess you understood how we can identify or how we can differentiate between negative as well as positive salt. Mainly it depends on the dispersion medium. Okay, so the salt whatever will form, it will absorb the ions from dispersion medium. So how it will absorb? Based on the common ion. Okay, so which ion is common over here? So that common ion it will absorb and it will go with this concept. Okay, so that is nothing but two examples where we can identify regarding the formation of negative charge as well as positive charge. One more example I will give. Now you have to identify whether it is positive salt or negative salt. Addition of or passing of hydrogen sulfide, okay, passing of hydrogen sulfide into arsenic oxide. Okay, arsenic oxide, for this you are going to pass hydrogen sulfide. I am telling passing of hydrogen sulfide to this, in the sense don't think this is your dispersed phase. This is actually dispersion medium. Okay, you are supposed to take hydrogen sulfide into large amount and this will be there in less amount. As you have already studied. Solute and solvent, when you will compare, solute will be in smaller in number and solvent will be larger in number. So when you write reaction H2S plus AS2O3, okay, arsenic oxide, so that you will get arsenic trisulfide as well as H2O formation takes place. In this is your salt. Okay, so here this is your dispersion medium and this is your dispersed phase. Now what we want, we need dispersion medium. So based on this we can say whether it absorbs what kind of ion. For example, now if I take arsenic sulfide, this is your colloidal form and it absorbs ions from dispersion medium. So this is plus and this is negative charge. So it absorbs sulfur because sulfur is common over here. So it will absorb sulfur. So based on this you can say this solution or this colloidal salt is negative. So based on this. Okay. So regarding this we are seeing with example. Now the next concept that will go, that is nothing but electrical double layer. So when the formation of this kind of electrical property will be seen. See, as you have seen, negative charges will be here. Okay. What about the positive charge? Obviously, now sulfur when it is attracted, when it is absorbed, now it is having hydrogen also. So hydrogen also will come here. Okay, because always opposite charges always it attracts, right? Okay, so it will be having positive as well as negative charge in a fixed layer. So this layer it cannot move. Okay, the first layer whatever it has been formed that cannot move. The second layer whatever it will form in the sense. Now same example I take. Arsenic sulfide, it has absorbed negatively charged sulfur, okay, but it is having hydrogen also, right? So hydrogen also will be there as a layer, but remember this will not be absorbed, okay, hydrogen will not be absorbed, but it will be there in the solution, okay. So this layer, the first layer, we are going to call it as fixed layer. So this layer is fixed layer. And your solution will be having some more ions also, okay, which is your colloidal salt, it will not absorb, it will be there as it is. So that will form as another layer. So that ions will be randomly distributed. H plus, H2 minus, H2 minus, H plus, like this. It will be randomly distributed. So this layer, okay, we will be calling as mobile layer. Why we calling as mobile layer or dispersed layer? Because this layer is possible to move. In the sense, ions which is present in the second layer, it will be able to move. So we are going to call it as mobile. Mobile in the sense moving, right? Okay, so it will be able to move. So whenever you can check with the colloidal solution, it will be having two layers. One layer is nothing but which it will absorb. Okay, so based on that, we are going to say the charge. Another layer which is of no use, but it just forms as a layer. Okay, why it forms as a layer? Just to give the stability, okay, to the molecule. It will form as a second layer. So we are going to consider as a formation of two layers will be taken place. Okay, so this was explained by a scientist Helmholtz. So he said combination of two layers of opposite charges around the colloidal particle. See, this is your colloidal particle. Around the colloidal particle, formation of two layers which is having opposite charges. So that can be considered as Helmholtz electrical double layer. Two layer formation. One is fixed layer which is stable. Okay, it will not move. Another is mobile layer. This is dispersed layer which can move. Okay, so what will happen? This will be considered as electrical double layer or Helmholtz. This is very important. They can ask what is meant by Helmholtz electrical layer. So this will be considered as Helmholtz electrical layer. Formation of two layers based on the opposite charges around your colloidal particle. So that will be considered as Helmholtz electrical double layer. So when it will be having double layer, there is a difference between its potential charges, potential energies. Okay, so that will be considered as zeta potential. Potential difference is generated in a colloidal particle due to the presence of two oppositely charged layers. Okay, so that will be considered as either electromagnetic potential or it will be considered as zeta potential. How we can see in capacitor. Okay, the same concept will happen because of presence of two charges. Okay, So there will be like difference with the potential charge, potential energy difference can be seen. So the same thing it goes with your double layer also. Here, due to the formation of two layers which is having two different charges, this particle will show much difference with the potential concept. Okay, potential energies difference will be there. So that will be considered as zeta potential. Okay. Now, how these scientists has been observed presence of these charges? How we got to know that this is having or colloidal solutions are having different charges? So that was explained by experiment. So that will be considered as electrophoresis. Okay, experiment considered as